morning. It's my pleasure to be here. I will say that I'm a sprinter, which means we don't get up before 8:30 in the morning. So bear with me this morning. Most of the people that I speak to are, young kids, sport organizations. So to be speaking to a room full of home economists is a rare treat, a very rare pleasure. There's so many goodies that I kind of want to nibble at, but I'm going to focus. I'll start off by telling you guys a little bit about myself, and then sharing about 4 pillars that I've learned in 13 years of professional running. And your theme is winning in challenging times, which is something that has been a hallmark of my life or my career as an athlete. It doesn't matter if you're an athlete though. We always have to win in challenging times. Whether the challenging times are your personal life, your professional life, there's always something that's a challenge. Mine has been very public and very out there, but at the same time, people have to go through hurdles in their life, whether they're literally at the Olympic Games or, like I said, just in your day-to-day. So a little bit about myself first. I grew up in the wonderful city, probably the best city in Canada, Pickering, Ontario, but I'm a lot biased, to a mom who was St. Lucian. So she migrated here when she was in her late teens. And she came here, quintessential immigrant story, right? Came here to give her children a much better life. And I was a student at Glengrove Public School. And it was probably around grade 3 that I was first introduced to sport and physical activity. Now, if you look at my family, we look athletic, but no one was a sporting hero. No one was ever really interested in sport. So it wasn't any ambition that any of us ever had. And I remember being in 3rd grade, and my teacher was Mrs. Arthurs. And the cool thing about having Mrs. Arthurs as your teacher in grade 3 was she was married to the mayor of Pickering, Ontario, which meant she was the queen of the universe. Not only was she my homeroom teacher, she was also my gym teacher. And back in the day, back in elementary school, they don't have it anymore, but there was this standardized test called Canada Fitness. Does anyone remember it? Exactly. Love that thing. And there are 3 levels. There are actually 5 levels to Canada Fitness, right? You had gold, then you had silver, then bronze. But then there were 2 tiers outside of that. There was excellence, which means you were off the Richter scale. And then there was the participation pin, which basically means you weren't doing anything. So we were in 3rd grade, we went through this curriculum, and it was the day to give out the awards, to hand out the awards. And Mrs. Arthurs had us all sitting in our shuttles. And I remember I was always the last in my shuttle, about 4 or 5 kids in a group in a row. And she made the speeches about everyone who got their badges and their certificates. And it was the end. And then she set apart a very separate moment, a very, very special moment. She kind of set it up. And she says, this is the only person in our entire class who has gotten the excellence badge, which is off, like I said, off the Richter scales, thesarethebomb.com. And she said it was me. And I remember just feeling like I had won the Canada Fitness Oscars. You know what I mean? So I ran up there and got my award. And the rest of the kids were all kind of just really excited. Everyone was clapping and cheering for me. But that was the first time that I had been recognized and awarded for my athletic prowess. Didn't even know I had athletic prowess, right? I was just doing what I was told to do. So that same year, Mrs. Arthurs really wanted me to try out for the track team, but I wasn't allowed. We had to be in grade 4, and again, I was in grade 3. So I wasn't able to sign up. Obviously, I was athletically gifted enough to do it, but I wasn't allowed. So what she did was, she looked out for me for the next year, and she made sure she came and got me in grade 4, so I remembered to sign up for the track team. And I tried out and I made the team. I remember running home the next year when I was 9, having made the team. And I opened the door, I burst open the door because I was so excited to tell my mom what happened. And she's vacuuming. My mother loves to vacuum. So I get in and she's vacuuming the stairs like she always does. And I remember just bursting out, Mom, I made it to the team. And she's like, yay! What team, honey? No clue. I remember telling her running away at the gym, so I made it for the track team, big deal. Little did we know that that day would change the trajectory of my life and our life as a family. Because like I said, she came to this country, yes, to get us a better way of life, but not necessarily through sports or athletics, right, through education and just access to a whole bunch of different opportunities. Throughout elementary school, and this was my, how I defined myself, I would win a lot. I won a lot in district meets, in school meets. It was how I defined myself. I was a winner. So I went all the way through grade 4 through grade 8, winning. And it was the last district meet at Glengrove Public School, and everyone from Durham Region competes at the OHEA Civic Stadium. Now, I would never answer to Perdita. My name was the Bullet, okay? That's what I answered to. I was the Bullet. Because I had created a reputation of being the best, the fastest, the most fearsome competitor. Basically, I was a big fish in a small pond. So this is the last district meet before I was to go to high school. And I show up at the meet, and I am ready to win, like I always am, right? But there's really been no major challenges in my little basic sporting career in Pickering. And I remember warming up, and I see this girl that I had never seen before, who had never been at a district meet. And I remember seeing her, and I'm thinking, wow, she's a lot taller than me. She looks like she might be faster than me. Oh, hell. So we all lined up for the race, and this girl, I got to know her name was Shelly Ann Brown. Now, everyone was there to watch me. My family, my mom, my teammates, my school, everyone is there in the stands to watch me win like I always win. And a lot of times in your life, you might have a reputation that you pride yourself in, right? It's who you are. Who I was a winner. I didn't know how to be anything else. But my day, my life was about to be changed and jarred in a little bit. So we line up, and they say, on your marks. And I'm so nervous. And I'm so nervous, like I always am, but I'm a little bit more nervous that I'm scared that Shelly Ann's gonna beat me and I'm gonna embarrass myself. Because again, everyone's watching. My mom is used to standing in the front of the stands and yelling in her St. Lucian accent, "Go, Perdita, go!" That's what she does, and she wears a t-shirt with my name on it. Highly embarrassing when you're 13 years old. So everyone's there, and they say on your mark, get set, go. And Shelly Ann is right beside me, and I'm nervous, but just a little bit more nervous than normal, focusing on her. And the gun goes off, bang! And 100 meters, I have to run. And this is like the definitive race of my life, okay? Everything that I'm worth hinges on me crossing that finish line first. And I'm running, and at 50 meters, okay, I'm with Shelly Ann, shocked and awed that I'm with this girl. At 80 meters, Shelly Ann slowly starts pulling away. Oh, hell. I'm losing! I don't lose. I don't lose, but I'm losing. And in that moment, all of 13 years old, just almost like conceding, not fighting anymore because I'm losing. I didn't know how to fight. About 20 meters left, we get to the finish line. I dip, Shelly Ann dips, Shelly Ann wins, I lose. My whole world came shattering down, right? That was the biggest challenge I had faced in my 4 years at Glengrove. And that moment rocked me to my core. And you'll have moments that will rock you to your core, but you have to decide what you're going to do in those moments. I remember thinking immediately how embarrassed I was, how ashamed I was. So we go to the victory ceremony, and they put you in front of the entire stands, and they have these 3 little boxes for first, second, and third, and you stand on them. I always stand in the middle, and I always get the red ribbon, because the red ribbon means that you won. And my tiny bedroom is lined with red ribbons, right? The definition of my success, the definition of who I am. And they announced that I got the silver. And you know what they gave me? A blue ribbon. What am I gonna do with that? It's gonna clash with everything red in my bedroom. And they give Shelly Ann, who had beat me, the red ribbon. And they made her the champion. And in that moment, I was not furious, but I was devastated. So I took my little blue, ugly ribbon at that time, and I marched to the top of the bleachers because I didn't want anyone to see me. I didn't find my mom, I didn't find my family. And I went to the top of the stadium, and I started to cry. Like, you know those ugly cries, like the ugly cry that you do in the mirror sometimes? We all do it. And I just could not believe it, that I had lost, because I was devastated. I had defined myself as a winner, and here I was having to face my school and my family. In fact, I was sure my mom got in her car and drove home because she was embarrassed. I was sure of it. And Mrs. Hurst, the gym teacher, comes up to me, and she sits beside me. She doesn't say anything for a while, and I'm just doing the ugly cry. I'm just so upset at myself. She sits down next to me, doesn't say anything. Then finally she says, hold your chin up. Hold your head up. Why are you crying? We're waiting for you down here. Come back. We're so proud of you. Right? I wipe my tears. And I take the ugly blue ribbon and I go back down to my teammates and my mom, and everyone just embraces me and hugs me. But again, it didn't matter what other people thought. I thought I was a loser. I was rocked so much by that challenge that going into grade 10, I quit track. Going into grade 9, I quit track. Going into grade 10 again, I quit track. And the reason I quit was because I couldn't deal with the embarrassment and the shame. I couldn't let that happen again. I didn't want to face the music, right? And there'll be times in your life, whether you're looking for a job, you're looking for a better placement, you're looking to up your game, whatever it is, that you don't like your circumstance. You don't like where you are. In those moments, you can decide that I'm just going to wallow in where I am, or you can decide that I'm going to face this challenge head on, and I'm going to make myself what I want to be. But I didn't have that perspective of mind when I was 13, 14 years old. I didn't have it, so I quit altogether. And thank God for mothers, right? Thank God for mothers. And despite what your kids will tell you, you have to nag them. My mom calls it encouraging now, but she would nag me literally for 2 years. Perdita, are you going to go up for the track team? Nag, 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 nag. She has a gene for nagging, my mom. And I said no. Every year for 2 years I said no, until the gym teacher in grade 10 cornered me, Mrs. Masales, cornered me because my mom, my club coach from grade 8, was calling the school saying, this girl, Perdita Felicien, that is not on your track team, you guys need to corner her and you guys need to put pressure on her. So in grade 10, they kept putting pressure on me. And I'm walking through the hallway, and Miss Masales, who was the head of girls phys ed, sees me in the hallway. And in grade 10, I was going through a bit of a rebellious streak, right? I was just trying to like skip class, sign in tardy at the office and not even go to class, that sort of thing. And I remember one day I was probably skipping class and I was in the hallway. And Miss Masales comes right up to me. She corners me in one of the lockers. And I'm like, why are you all up in my face, right? And she comes right up into my face and she corners me so I can't go anywhere. And she says, I know who you are. And I kind of think, if you knew who I was, you'd be all up in my face, first of all. And your teacher, she says, your club coach and your mom have told me exactly who you are. And she's like, I'm not going to let you not sign up for our team, our track team. So between Miss Masales, my mom, and my club coach, I decided I'm going to go back out for the track team. Very, very reluctantly, because now I'm probably 2 years beyond losing. I'm an honor student, so okay. I want a new challenge, I want a different challenge, so I went back out for the track team. So the long and the short of that is, I didn't have the perspective to realize that I was giving up a really good opportunity. And I really believe that whatever your gift is, whatever you've been blessed to do, you owe it to yourself to see that all the way to the end. It doesn't matter how challenging, how hard it is. It doesn't matter what other people say. You owe it to yourself to see your gift right through to the end. So I signed up very reluctantly. The long and the short of that is, I ended up earning a full scholarship to the University of Illinois. Ended up winning a lot of medals and traveling around the world and getting contracts and being represented by some really, really notable brands. And all of that because my mom and my coaches were able to see a gift in me and able to see that I was kind of letting that opportunity slip by me. So in 13 long years of professional sport and competition, I have now have a lot of time to reflect and look back. What I'm going to share with you next are pretty much 4 pillars that I've learned in those 13 years, and probably 29 of just competing and performing. And I'm going to let you know how I've used them to guide my life, and hopefully you can use them. So the first one, there's 4 of them, is your darkest hour doesn't define you. That's the first one I'll share. Then excellence begets excellence. The third one is, and I love this one, fake it till you make it. And the last one is feed your soul, which is probably I'm speaking to the choir here, but I'll talk to you a little bit about that. The first one is don't let your darkest hour define you. So, like I said, I've gone through the ranks, won 10 national titles, kind of was known in my sport. And in 2004 was probably one of the better years. I had been undefeated that entire summer. And it was the Olympic year, right? So everybody's out. It's the biggest year. Everybody's following you. Everyone is around. And I had been undefeated that entire season where I was ranked #1. So I get to the Olympic Games, and nothing in my preparation was different. Nothing in my focus was different. My team was on. I was well prepared. And I get to the Olympic Games, and my focus is no different. Here's the thing about being at the Olympics. It doesn't matter how much you train, how much you focus, how much you prepare for a situation in practice. Nothing in your mind, in your body, in your soul prepares you like the actual live moment. You can think about it, you can dream about it, but nothing changes the fact that you're there. It has your name and your country, and they're announcing you. There's a huge amount of pride that goes in that. But I hadn't defined myself at this point as an Olympic champion. Even though I wanted to be that, I always knew that I had to earn it. And the odds were in my favor, obviously. I was supposed to win. Everyone told me I was supposed to win. I was on billboards in Toronto. I had these huge sponsorship contracts telling me that you're supposed to win, you're going to win, all these things. And the starter says in Greek, on your marks. And then he says, set. And there's a quietness, there's a silence, and everything's like a vacuum. Everything is shut off. Mind you, there's 110,000 people in the stands, but you cannot hear you can't hear anything. All you hear is his commands that are gonna set you off. And he says, bang! And I'm running for my life. The same way I ran for my life against Felicien, the same way I had run hundreds of races before me. In the hurdles, there's 10 hurdles, and I call them bombs. It's like a minefield. And unlike other events in track and field, the hurdles are relentless, because if you clip one, if you hit one, it's over. In other events, like the 100, let's say, if you stumble, you might be able to recover. In the hurdles, it's a game of millimeters, it's a game of chance. You clip, you hurt it, you hit it, it's over, it's a wrap. And he says, bang, and it gives me life. And I run to that first hurdle, and there's 9 more after that. But before I know it, I fall. I've hit the first hurdle with my leg, and I've fallen, I've dropped to the ground, and the race is over. And I'm spun around so much with my force that I'm actually facing the opposite direction of the finish line. And I can see on this huge jumbotron, they're running my race. They're running my race, but it's so surreal that I'm now on the floor, on the ground. Darkest hour, darkest moment. Forget losing to Felicien. This was a dark moment. I remember getting up, and you're still so numb, it's still so raw, you don't really know what's going on. And walking towards the mix zone. The mix zone is the media area where all the media are there waiting for you. And obviously, it's a huge, huge deal in the stadium because they're focusing on the winner, but they're also focusing on the little Canadian girl who's just fallen on her face and is now walking back to the mix zone. And all the cameras are obviously focused on me. And there's the option of not talking to the media. There's an option of just whisking right past them and maybe talking to them later. But of course, who would blame me if I didn't talk to them, right? Because in your darkest hour, sometimes you have no words. Sometimes there are no words. But I made the decision that I'm gonna have to talk and I'm gonna have to say something. And the reason I felt I wanted to was, if I have a lot to say, I'm a very talkative person, as you can tell. If I have a lot to say when things are great in my life, when things are good when I'm racing, I want to be that same individual that can speak and has something to say even when things are crap. And things are really crap. So the first thing they ask me is, and what do you ask a person who's just fallen on their face in the biggest race of their life? And he says, what happened? And what do you want to say? And the first thing I said is, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to everyone who has believed in me. I'm sorry to everyone who has invested in me. And I'm sorry to my entire country. And I sincerely was sorry. And for me, that moment was so dark that I was still processing it. Again, it's just been a few minutes into it, and I was still processing it. And getting through the entire mix zone. And of course, everybody wants to talk to me. Germany, Turkey, whoever. I don't even speak Russian, they want to talk to me. But every single outlet wanted to talk. And I said, I have to stand here and face the music. So don't let your darkest hour define you, right? It's easy to be happy and cheerful when things are good, but make sure you're always who you are, even in those dark moments. And I've dedicated myself to being even who I want to be, especially in those dark moments. And it's taken years. It's been about 9 years this summer since that day. And of course, I can talk about it frankly, and I will always talk about it. It will hurt, it will pain, but I haven't defined myself by that moment. And I made the mistake when I was young of defining myself by losing to Felicien Brown. I defined myself by always having to be a winner, always having to come first. And I made the decision, I'm not going to define myself like that anymore. And it's the pillar that I now use in my life now. But like I said, in the early days, in the early years, it was hard, you know. It will be the story that I tell my children, and the story that I tell my grandkids. But the truth is, about anything that you're going through now, whether it's painful or hurtful, that will be strength that you get to tap in later on in your life. So I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but sometimes you have to embrace the difficult times in your life. Sometimes you have to embrace those moments where, frankly, you don't know if you're coming or you're going. When you make it through those moments, you'll look back on that time and be like, rock on, I can do anything, because I made it through that. Which leads me to my second pillar, is excellence begets excellence. And I think it speaks for itself that the people that you surround yourself with should be a reflection of who you are. For me as an athlete, what I do is on display. It's on public display. I'm so vulnerable. I'm vulnerable with my emotions. I'm vulnerable with how I feel about myself. So many things are on display. If I surround myself with people who only want me to win so they can get something out of it, then that is not the right company to be around. One of the greatest things about the people that I surround myself with is when I win a race, or when I lose a race, it all starts in the call room. So the call room is where you prepare, and then they march you to the start line. So before a race, my coach, my chiropractor, my physio will all be there prepared, warming up, going over hurdles, getting prepared. And they'll walk me to the ready room, and then you'll go to battle. You go to battle by yourself, right? But when I'm done the race, and I have to walk through the mix zone, whether I fall on my face, whether I've won, when I go right back to the ready room, the call room, guess who's there? My coach, my chiropractor, my team. Even after Athens, and hours had passed till they got to see me again. Hours, because again, I have to be physically examined, I have to go through the mix zone. I walked to the ready room after hours, and I got injured, so they had to wheel me in a wheelchair. And the lights are off in the stadium. Guess who's there? My team. The exact same spot where I left them probably 4 or 5 hours before. Everybody is gone, but they are still there. They didn't care that the medal was gone. They didn't care about that. How are you as a person? How are you as an individual? Had I surrounded myself with people that only cared about the gold medal so they could get money in their pockets, or gold medal so that they could say, hey, I'm coaching gold medalist, those are the wrong people to have in your midst. So that's something I've learned. I only surround myself with people that reflect who I am. Because in those challenging times, in those trying times, those are the people that you're going to need to rely on. Which leads me to my third one, my favorite one, fake it till you make it. For a long time in my sport, when I would compete, I would go to a race, let's say I was injured before, or I didn't prepare well, I would literally wear the expression of, I'm gonna not do well today on my face. Literally get to the line and look like a lost puppy. And it gave the people that I competed against, it gave them ammo, it gave them power. Then I got a little strategy going, and I said to myself, you have to fake it till you make it. If you go to the start line and you don't feel good, you don't feel fresh, you haven't prepared, don't let people see that. Don't let people know. Right now, you might want to develop yourself a certain way, professionally. You don't know how you're going to get there. You're looking for a new job, you're looking to network. You don't know, you know what you want to be, but you don't know how you're going to get there. Fake it till you make it. Wake up in the morning and decide that you're already that thing that you want to be. I would go to the start line after a while and realize, okay, I'm not as prepared. Maybe I'm not ranked number 1, maybe I'm ranked 10. And the odds aren't in my favor today, but you know what? I'm going to act like I'm the world champion. I'm going to act like I'm the Canadian champion today. Because whatever you put out there, I believe that you get all that back. And at the end of the day, it's an attitude. It's a decision that you make. It's a decision that you have to make. The last pillar, which is an essential one, and I learned it way too late in my professional career, is feed your soul. And feed your soul first. I think a lot of us are concerned about our profession. You know, maybe there's a parent that you have to take care of. Maybe you take care of your kids and your world, and your husband or your wife and then your world. And you can be all those things to different people. But what are you to yourself? Do what makes you happy. Feed yourself and your soul first. Because the truth is, if you don't feed your soul first and do what you want to do, what makes you happy, you are no good to those people that you have to take care of. You are no good to those people that you have to encounter on a day-to-day basis. For a long time, like I said, I learned this too late in my sport, I was so manic about performing and racing and competing and training and eating well that I neglected my friends, neglected them. You have to be a little bit obsessed in my line of work, absolutely. It's a lifestyle. It's something that every decision that I make is a reflection on how I perform on the track. It's how I make my living. But now that I'm getting ready to put my spikes away, I realize, okay, if I have a retirement party in a year, there's only 3 people that are going to come, my agent, my manager, and my mom. Because clearly, I haven't developed the other relationships in my life because I've been so busy trying to be the best in the world, which no one can blame me. You should want to be the best in the world, but not at the detriment of the other areas of your life that you need to develop and you should develop. So I'm actively now trying to develop and reconnect some friendships that I had let go. And I regret that. The good thing is I've had great people, great friendships that they all have been very gracious in inviting me back into their circle. But at the end of the day, don't be so focused on other things and other people that you don't sometimes take the time to put yourself first. And sometimes it's a hard decision to put yourself first. It feels selfish. It feels wrong. There's so many other things pulling for your attention, but try to find a quiet moment for yourself. Try to find a time where you can do something that just makes you happy. Maybe it's as simple as taking 20 minutes to eat that cupcake in the corner. Don't let anyone see, but just doing what it is that in that day will feed your soul and make you happy. So that's all I have for today. Once again, thank you for having me. Thank you for giving me your full attention, and it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.